I'd like to call this Tampa City Council meeting to order. If we could have a roll call, please.
Carlson, Vieira, Maniscalco,
Here.
Hurtak,
Here.
Goods, Miranda, Citro.
All right, and Councilman Carlson will be joining us virtually. So you will see him by computer. Councilman Vera is here. He'll be out momentarily. Councilman Citro will not be here. So we will have 6 council members.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
just for a note, about 6:35, I have to dip out to go right down to the convenience center. The National Shriners are here to give the welcome, and I'll be right back.
All right. Thank you very much. Before we begin, if you notice this beautiful Christmas tree here, I've been admiring it all day. This was put up, from my understanding, from Mary Bryant, who's legislative aide to Charlie Miranda, and as always, she did a beautiful job. So I want to acknowledge her for all her hard work, because she's always decorating at Christmas time, and this is probably her best work yet. So
No wonder I can't get things done.
there you go. But
Only a joke, Mary.
all right, so we have a few items on the agenda tonight. However, we have quite a few continuances and withdrawals, and I'd like to address those now at the beginning so we can clean them up. And for anybody that's here for said items, so you're not here, spending the evening and the item is not heard. Yes, ma'am.
Yes, good evening, council. I'm LaShawn Dock, Development Coordination, and I'd like to clear the agenda for this evening. For item number 2, there is a request to continue this item to January 12th, 2023.
So moved.
Second.
We gotta take a roll call and open the meeting.
It goes with item number.
This goes with item number 9,
But
so.
before you begin, may I have a motion to open
So
all
moved.
items?
Second.
We have a motion to open all the hearings from Councilmember Good, second from Councilmember Miranda. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. Yes, ma'am.
Yes, so item number 2, there's a request to continue this item to January 12th, 2023.
Okay. And that goes with
Item number 9.
So we have a motion, we have a request, actually a letter from Julia Mandel to continue items number 2 and items number 9 to January 12th, 2023 at 5:01 PM.
Is there anyone?
Is there anybody in the public that wishes to speak not on the merits of the case, but just on the continuance for items number 2 and items number 9? I see none. Let me just check.
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Chairman, I move to put item number 2 and item number 9 in the agenda for January 12th, 2023, both items 2 and item number 9.
We have a, yes, ma'am.
Just an aside to that, as part of the letter from the concerned residents who agreed to the continuance, they also recommended that they be heard first.
Okay, so.
I don't know if, I'm just saying this is what they said, so I don't know if we want to,
Well, they were second on the agenda, so we should at least put them no worse than second.
that's fair.
That's fine, that's fair enough, but if possible, put them first, if not.
Yeah,
just
right.
second. So
That's what I'm
it's
saying.
far enough out, and that's for January 12th, 2023. Who made the motion? Councilmember Miranda, second from Councilmember Goods, all in favor?
aye.
All right, that settles item 2 and item number 9. Item number 3 is next, yes, ma'am?
Yes, there's a request to continue this item to December 8th. This would go along with the associated rezoning, so the intent is to hear those both together.
All right, we have a
on
motion,
December 8th.
I'm sorry, we have a request to continue
So
item
moved.
number 3. Do we have anybody in the public that wishes to speak just on the continuance of item number 3? I hear none, so that will be continued, you said, till when, December, ma'am?
To December 8th at
That'll-
5:01.
So December 8th at 5:01 PM is item number 3. We have a motion from Councilmember Booth, second from Councilmember Hurtak to continue this item. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, next up, we have item number 5. that
Yes,
wishes to be
item number
continued.
5, there's an email from the applicant requesting a continuance to February 9th, 2023 at 5:01.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Do we have any public comment on the continuance only for item number 5? Mr. Federico? No? Okay. Hearing and seeing none, we have a motion from Councilman Good, second from Councilman Miranda to continue item number 5 to February 9th, 2023 at 5:01 PM. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Next, item number 7 is asking for a continuance.
Yes, item number 7, the applicant has requested a continuance to January 12th, 2023 at 5:01.
Second.
We have a motion from Councilwoman Hurtak, second from Councilman Goods on item number 7 to be continued. Is there anybody in the public that wishes to speak on the continuance only? Item number 7. I see and hear none. This will be continued for January 12th, 2023 at 5:01 PM. Motion from Councilwoman Hurtak, second from Councilman Goods. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Item number 11, there is a request to continue to either February or March 2023.
Yes, council, this item, the applicant is requesting a continuance. If it's February, it would be February 9th, 2023, at 5:01. Staff is prepared with this case, but the applicant has requested a continuance.
Okay, do we have anybody that wishes to speak on the continuance for item number 11? Just the continuance on 11.
So
All right,
moved,
I
Chairman.
see and hear none. We have a motion to continue to February 9th at 5:01 PM from Councilmember Miranda, second from?
Second.
Second from Councilmember Hurtak. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, all right. Next is
Mr.
item
Chairman, we
number-
have a lot of continuances here. I mean, are we, Ms. Doc, are we gonna be able to make sure we, you know how I am about overloading dockets on nights, so I wanna make sure we stick to our rules here. I mean,
Absolutely. What we've done is we've looked at the calendar to make sure, before we request a date. So January 12th has availability.
so we good on all these continuances
February.
tonight so far.
Yes, and then the one requesting the continuance with the comp plan amendment, we have already coordinated prior and saved space for that item.
Councilwoman Hurtak.
All right,
I was gonna wait, but while we're talking about this, how many of these are first continuances versus second continuances?
So the other requests are first continuances. The item number 11 is the second continuance.
Now,
Um,
per our rules, that would have to kick back, wouldn't it? Or is that the third continuance?
Oh, are you thinking of misnotice?
Oh, I'm sorry, you're
Yes,
right. I'm
when there's
thinking
a
of misnotice.
misnotice.
My
Yes.
apologies.
So this was properly noticed, but it is the second continuance, so.
Thank you.
Mhm.
I was just
Absolutely.
curious.
Oh,
Thank you.
yes, absolutely.
Next up, and Councilmember Carlson is online, so let the record reflect that we have him with us virtually. Item number 14, there's a request, I'm sorry, there is a, request to withdraw. If I can have a motion to withdraw
So
item
moved.
14. Yes, sir. Item 14, motion to withdraw by Councilman Good, second from Councilmember Miranda. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right, and the
And if I
last-
may, counsel, I have one more housekeeping item. Item number 6 on the agenda this evening, it goes with a rezoning, which is item number 12. So the applicant has requested and staff is requesting if item 6 can be heard with item 12. If you could move item 6 down on the agenda.
6 to 12.
Item number 6 and item number 12 will be heard back to back, AKA together, and then,
At the time of item 12, please. Yes.
you want
Thank
to
you.
move 6
Down.
back
Back.
down to 12?
Okay.
Yes, I know,
All right.
you don't hear that
Yeah.
often, but yes.
Any
Thanks.
objection to that? No? All right, that settles
Thank you, counsel.
the agenda. Since these are all public hearings, let me go here at the beginning. Okay, I will go to swear in everybody once we begin on item number 4, but item number 1 is a brownfield issue. Who wishes to present? Yes, ma'am.
Good evening, Council. McLean Evans, Assistant City Attorney. This is the first public hearing on brownfield designation for Coral Walk. It's located at 1000 West Fig Street, owned by ZP 370 Tampa LLC. They're requesting designation of the property as a brownfield area to assist in the assessment and remediation of environmental impacts that may exist on the property. Details of the designation have been outlined in a document entitled Staff Report on Coral Walk Proposed Brownfield Area Designation, which is available for public review in the clerk's office. Except taking public comment on this matter this evening, no other action is required by council. At the conclusion of the second public hearing, currently scheduled for December 15th, council will have an opportunity to pass a resolution designating Coral Walk as a brownfield area. Staff and I and a representative of the property are here this evening in case you have any questions.
Do you have any questions at this time?
1000 Fig Street.
Councilman Vieira is in the house. All right. So we're only down one council member. Anybody in the public wish to speak on item number 1? I see no one, but we do have a registered public comment speaker for item 1, Jean Strohmeyer. She's online and logged in. All right.
Ms. Strohmeyer, please turn on your audio and unmute, I'm sorry, your video and unmute yourself.
Yes, ma'am. Please unmute yourself. We can't hear you.
Okay, I'm unmuted. I was just, this is the Brownfield one. Do we have, oversight of these Brownfield, designations? I'm just wondering, because there's always been really good, on real estate. So I just wanted to know if we have, oversight, or can somebody just come and say, hey, by the way, hey, this is poisoned, or this is bad, can we, designate it Brownfield? I'm just not sure how well we oversee those things, that's all.
Would you like to answer her?
Could you clarify what you mean by oversight? Right now, this designation process is a statutory administrative process designated by the state to the local municipalities. In this case, it's a privately owned property, and by simply doing the designation, it allows the property owner to qualify for certain statutory tax credits if they do find contamination and choose to clean it up.
If they find, but they're already trying to designate it, so my question is, if they, somebody buys the property and they say, okay, we want these tax credits, I believe it was like 50% from what I recall on a seminar we did or a meeting one time. It's, can they just say, hey, this is a brownfield, and then they get the tax credit, or do we have somebody, like somebody from the city or somebody, an independent person that actually samples what they're telling us it is?
The Florida Department of Environmental Protection oversees that. If they choose to proceed forward, they have to do certain testing, turn in reports, do the cleanup, pay for it, and go through, my understanding is, a formal audit process and submit a formal package to the state to get in line to try to qualify for those tax credits. So the city, after the designation process, is sort of out of the process. The rest is taken over by Department of Environmental Protection.
Okay, so, all right, I guess that's it, thanks.
Thank you very much. Thank you, ma'am. All right, there's no need to close this hearing,
You can
correct?
close it.
We do close it?
We'll announce the next date.
Either way, in this particular circumstance, it doesn't matter if you open or close it when you vote.
Okay.
Close?
All right, we have a motion to close item number 1 from Councilmember Goode, second from Councilmember Miranda. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, we have a second public hearing on December 15th at 9 a.m. 2022 on this item. All right, we are going to go into the quasi-judicial hearings. If you are going to speak on any item between item number 4 to the end of the agenda, please stand, raise your right hand, and we'll swear you in.
Please raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony that you're about to give is the truth and nothing but the truth? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yes, ma'am, go ahead.
Yes, Council, thank you so much. LaShawn Dock, Development Coordination. Council, item number 4 is REZ 2233. This is for the property located at 3812 Pinewood Street. The applicant is Alex Shaler, and the request is to rezone the property from IG Industrial General to PD Plan Development, and it is to allow a hotel use on site. I'll turn it over to Danny with the Planning Commission, and then I'll come back and give my report. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Good evening, this is Danny Collins with your Planning Commission staff. Our first case is within the South Tampa Planning District, and more specifically in the Gandy Civic Association. Gadsden Park is the closest public recreation facility, which is located a half mile to the southeast of the subject site. The closest transit stop is 0.1 miles to the subject site on Pinewood Street and Southdale Mabry Highway. This stop provides service to Bloomingdale, Brandon, downtown Tampa, and South Tampa. The subject site is located within a Level A evacuation zone and is within the coastal hazard area. The subject site is also within the MacDill Air Force flight path, which limits residential development to 10 dwelling units per acre. Here is the aerial map of the subject site and the surrounding properties. You'll see the subject site is here. This is South Dale Mabry Highway, and then this is Inter Bay Boulevard. The subject site is approximately a half-mile north of the MacDill Air Force Base. The surrounding development pattern is predominantly heavy industrial. There is a multifamily use to the north of the site. There is also public uses associated with the Air Force Base to the south and southeast of the subject site. Here is the adopted future land use map. Again, the subject site is outlined in purple color. It's within the light industrial future land use designation, which allows development up to a 1.5 FAR. The LI is to the northeast and south of the subject site. There is some, just north of Inter Bay, there is residential 35 and residential 50 parcels, and that's approximately 1 block north of the subject site. The Planning Commission staff reviewed the application and found no adverse impacts to the surrounding neighborhood. The PD proposes a 0.7 FAR, which is consistent with intensity anticipated under the light industrial designation. Again, the light industrial designation allows up to a 1.5 FAR. The request for a hotel will help ensure employment opportunities are available for the city's populations. Sidewalks are presently lacking adjacent to the site along Pinewood Street and West Markham Street. The PD proposes 5-foot sidewalks adjacent to the site along the public right-of-way. The proposed sidewalks along all adjacent public right-of-ways will help ensure sidewalks interconnect with future sidewalks on adjacent parcels. The subject site is located within the coastal hazard area. Since the PD proposes a commercial use and a hotel does not increase the number of residential units, CM Policy 1.2.2, which requires the mitigation for impact on shelter space demands, would not apply to this PD. Overall, the proposed PD would allow for development that is comparable and compatible with the character of the surrounding area, and the request is consistent with the development pattern anticipated under the light industrial future land use designation. Based on these considerations, the Planning Commission staff finds the request consistent with the goals, objectives, and policies of the City of Tampa Comprehensive Plan. That concludes my presentation. I'm available for any questions.
Any questions for the gentleman? Nope, thank you very much.
Thank you again, Council. LaShawn, Dock Development Coordination. And as mentioned by Danny earlier, just a few seconds ago, the site contains 2.56 acres. And what is proposed on the site with this PD rezoning is a hotel. And I have a site plan to show you. The site is currently vacant, as was mentioned. So this is the site plan submitted. So this is the boundary of the property. This is Pinewood Street, to orient you on this site plan. This is Markham Street. Dale Mabry would be off to the right on this screen. So this is the site proposed. This is the 6-story hotel, which will be located on the western end of the site. Vehicular access is proposed on Pinewood Street and on Markham. And you can see the parking spaces are located here. The amenities for the hotel are located along the west with the pool located here. And you can see the buffer that's provided surrounding the site. So what I'd like to show you next is the aerial of the site in the zoning map. So this is the site located in red. This is Pinewood Street. Just to orient you, this is Inter Bay, and this is South Dale Mabry Highway. So the base is here. So this is located just at the entrance. The visitor center for the base is located here. And then you enter the base here, and this is the site here. So you can see that it's surrounded with IG zoning, which is located to the north. You have some CI zoning here, some remnants of the RM24, and IG located along the south also. And I have pictures of the site. Let me remove this, makes it easier to see. So we'll start just on the northern edge of the site. So let me zoom in a little bit. So this is actually on Pinewood Street. This is looking west on Pinewood. So the site sits back here on the site. Dale Mabry is behind us in this picture. This is east of the site, so, which is also vacant, of course, still on Pinewood. And this takes us down to the north end of the site. We work our way over. This one's oriented a little different. This is a picture of the site also. And this takes us further west on the site. And this takes us to the end of the street. On the site plan, you can see where actually Pinewood ends. And that's that end of the road. And this is still the site here on the left. This is oriented a little different. So this is north of the site, the industrial. This is also north of the site. And this is the view when you're looking east on Pinewood, headed toward Del Mabry. That's in the distance. This is northeast of the site at South Del Mabry. And then this is south of the site when we swing around on Markham. That's located to the south. So staff has reviewed the request and finds the request consistent. There are site plan modifications required to be made between first and second reading, which the applicant agrees to. I'm available if you have any questions.
Any questions?
Thank you, council.
All right, the applicant is here.
Good God, man, I seen him in a while, man. Good God,
I'm like a bad penny.
man.
Truett Gardner, Gardner Brewer Hudson, 400 North Ashley Drive. Alex is pulling up our PowerPoint presentation, but presenting with me tonight is Alex Shaler, and then also in attendance is Brian Funk. He's the developer. Mike Gratz, who works with Brian. Ricky Pederica is our project arborist, and then last but not least, our project architect, Richard Wilson. And with that, can y'all see the PowerPoint? Perfect. So LaShawn showed this, but just to give you a little bit more context, you can see actually, just proximity-wise, Del Mabry on the east side there, and the gatehouse right really to the south of the roundabout. We've worked closely with the base, started our first contact with them prior to even filing this, and they'll hopefully be the largest client of this hotel, and they are supportive of this. We had an issue that we needed to run to the ground on height, which we have. We're going to insert a note on the site plan that it'll be subject to FAA approval. I've got an email from the base civil engineer agreeing that that's absolutely fine with them. And then also just to clarify, I think Danny might have said we're in the flight zone. We are not. We're just outside of the flight zone as it relates to this piece. As you travel to the east is where the flight zone begins, or the clear zone begins. And then real quick, just orientation-wise, Pinewood is on the north, Markham is on the south. The primary points of access are one kind of in the middle of the site on Pinewood and one in the middle of the site on Markham, with the hotel pushed to the west side of the property. This is the architecture. It's proposed to be a Hampton Inn. Mr. Funk likes to go above and beyond the typical architecture and outfitting of a hotel, which you can see here. Also on the ground floor will be, they're oversizing the convention space to make room for additional convention space that the base is lacking. And so that'll be a part of this project as well. And with that, I'll turn things over to Alex to run through just staff and then our waivers.
True, Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
true, how many rooms in the hotel?
115. And 77 feet is the height.
Alex Shaler, also 400 North Ashley Drive. Staff is largely supportive of this application. As you can see, Planning Commission found the application consistent, as well as the other reviewing departments listed on the right side of the screen. We are requesting 3 waivers in conjunction with the application, all related to natural resources. I have a street view image on the screen here showing that this site is completely vacant as it stands today. So this is a totally green site, which posed a lot of challenges whenever we went to, work through our development program here, and especially as it relates to the existing tree pattern on the site. And I'll go into that in a little bit more detail here in a second. The first waiver we're requesting is a buffering waiver to the east. This is a very, very minimal request. The buffer required is 15 feet. We're providing 15 feet. There is a wall required that's 6 feet high. We're providing a wall along the backside of the parking to the east, although it is only 3 feet high retaining wall. So there will be a small portion to the north, a small portion to the south along the landscape buffer that will not include a wall. And then as referenced, the wall is 3 feet shorter than what is required by code. The last two waivers are related to trees. As I mentioned, the first one is to remove one non-hazardous grand tree. The yellow bubble on the screen represents where that tree exists today, and as you can see, it's located right in the middle of the proposed building footprint. We did submit 2 reasonable reconfiguration alternatives into the record, so those are in the file already. As you can see, with the red shading on both images on the screen is representative of potentially shifting the building elsewhere to leave the tree where it exists today. The first alternative, as you can see, results in a limited amount of parking. We would lose a decent amount, and then in arguing that you could put the parking behind the building, we wouldn't have access, as the existing access off of Pinewood and Markham are more towards the east of the site. The second alternative kind of goes into a little bit of what Truett had mentioned earlier regarding the clear zone. There's a red dashed line going diagonally through the site on the bottom right corner, so we cannot have the building corner at the elevation within that corner clipping. So that is the second alternative that we produced there. The last waiver relating to trees is in regards to tree retention. We did also a reasonable reconfiguration for the sand live oak clump. Aaron had requested we provide those as well, and those are also in the record. As you can see, there is that sand live oak clump of trees proposed or existing right in the middle of the proposed parking field. In accommodating that clump and leaving that as is, we would lose about 50% of the land area of the site, and that was one of the contributing factors. The next factor at play with the tree retention is that we had proposed to keep a decent amount of the trees located to the rear of the hotel. Those were the ones that we were leaving, and this original waiver request was a reduction from 50% to 11%. Unfortunately, there was existing construction going on due west for a multifamily development off of Interbay at 7210 Interbay, and the surveyor had staked the boundaries incorrectly, and so the contractor went out and inadvertently took out some of the trees located internal to our site boundary. That has been discussed with Erin. She's aware, and they had written a letter as well that we have in the record. That's in our case file, and that'll be carried on through permitting, but we did want to mention that because we did propose 50% to 11%, and we feel there was a relatively decent difference between 11% and 0%. And Truett went into this a little bit already. We have coordinated extensively with McDill following our prior request for a continuance, and Truett mentioned the height here, and it is noted that we did file for FAA's approval on October 10th. Typically 45-day review period for them, so we're still waiting for that to come back, but we have agreed, and I've talked to LaShawn and the staff about adding a note if we're fortunate enough to get approval on first reading, between readings, which would just further state that we will defer to FAA's maximum permitted height and won't exceed that with our building permit submittal. And that is it for the presentation, and we're available for any questions that you might have.
Any questions for the applicant, Councilman Goods?
I see we talked to McDill. Did we talk to the neighborhood association here?
Yes.
Any objections? Any?
We'll know soon.
I believe we have a few letters that are in the record, but we'll let them speak for themselves.
Okay.
Any other questions?
I just wanted to put that on the record.
Thank you very much. If that is the conclusion of your presentation, we'll go to public comment. Anybody that wishes to speak on item number 4? Have you been sworn in? No?
No, I have not,
Okay.
for the 17th time today.
We couldn't
I
get a hold of you
apologize.
earlier.
My computer works, 2 computers, they both work fine. It's the webinar that you guys use, I'm sorry.
Do you swear or affirm that the testimony that you're about to give is the truth and nothing but the truth?
You know I will. First of all, I need to say this. Don't make them put a block wall. All it is a hiding spot for the homeless. So you end up with a bunch of folks hiding on the other side of the wall, trying to live there. If you notice, LaShawn showed you a whole bunch of beautiful, clean pictures of that property. It didn't look like that a couple months ago. The homeless had been down there. It was a hot mess. It was a garbage dump. And, you know, they've done a good job of keeping up with it. I'll also say that one of my tenants works at the temporary living facility on base, and the McDill Inn. They stay full. I deal with tons and tons of folks who do not have a place to stay when they come here to stay. So we need this facility. The closest place to stay off base is all the way at Gandy. There's a La Quinta there. There's another place there's a couple of motels in between, but I wouldn't stay there. When my husband and I moved here, we had to drive all the way up to the Tahitian Inn. So this is something that's going to produce for our community. Now, I'm unhappy to see that we're taking out a Grand Tree because it's the first I saw it. That's not anything that's been discussed with us, and I guarantee you Carol Ann's having the vapors at home. But, you know, we need the employment. We need the space. It's a good interaction with MacDill. No, they're not in the flight line, nor do I live in the flight line. I live closer to base than they'll be. So I have to, and it's not in the CHHA either. That tree is just ripping my heart out, but otherwise, I'm totally on board. That's why I drove down here, just to speak for this. So we need the business, and Carol Ann, don't kill me. Y'all have a good night.
Thank you very much. We have the pointer seal of approval. Anybody else in the chambers here to speak on item number 4? If not, we have one person registered online. All right, Gene Strohmeyer is the registered speaker.
Hello, everybody. Jean Strohmeyer here. Live down here south of Gandy. Inner Bay, south of Gandy. It's my neighborhood association.
I can't see the camera. Oh, there it
You
is.
can hear me?
Yeah, we can. Go ahead.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the gentleman came and presented to us his plan for this hotel, and, you know, I always find a reason why to say no. Always try to find one. But on this one, I absolutely cannot. They say that the lot is vacant, and it wasn't, like Stephanie just said, it had a lot of homeless camps right in there, and it was pretty gross. So when we took a tour of it, we, you know, got to see that, which is, you know, there's a lot of that around. Also, we discussed, now whether, you know, I don't know if this is part of the deal, but they did say they would complete the bike trail, the walking trail, to match it up with the trail, or they were calling it like the Friendship Trail. They're supposed to complete that if it fits with the zoning and everything they're supposed to do. As far as the motels around, those are just like drug dealer homes. So this is great to have, and it's great for the jobs. I don't like the tree thing either, didn't know about that. But I think one of the most important things is I believe the gentleman promised me that I could use the pool this week. I think he did. He said I can, but anyway, yeah, that's it. And I'm happy to support something for our neighborhood. I really am, and I think this will definitely be helpful for our neighborhood. So, yay, please approve it.
Thank you very much. That concludes all the public comment. Do we have any rebuttal from the applicant?
I don't think we'll put a condition on the site plan about Gene's use of the pool. But to add to the Love Fest, I do have a letter of support from Dana Gordon, president of the Ballast Point Neighborhood Association, as well as a letter from Santiago Corrada, Visit Tampa Bay. And with that, we'll close unless you have any questions.
Would you like to submit them to the record?
Sure. Move to close.
Second.
We have a motion to close from Councilmember Miranda, second from Councilmember Goos. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Councilmember Miranda, would you like to read item number 4? And
Sure.
including the revisions?
Item number 4, file number REZ 22/33. Ordinance being presented for first reading consideration. Ordinance rezoning property general percentage of 3812 Pinewood Street in the city of Tampa, Florida, and more particularly described in section 1 from zoning district classification, IG, industrial general, to PD, plan development, hotel, providing an effective date.
Second.
Motion from Councilmember Miranda, second from Councilmember Goos, and that includes the revision sheet?
It includes a revision sheet, and they've met all the compliance regarding the goals and objectives, the land code, and the compliance with section 27-139-4.
Thank you very much. Roll call?
Carlson,
Yes.
Goods,
Yes.
Viera,
Yes.
Maniscalco. Miranda,
Yes.
Hurtak,
Yes.
Citro. Motion carried with unanimous, with Citro being absent.
Thank you very much.
Second reading and adoption will be held on January 5th, 2023 at 9:30 a.m.
All right, next up. 8, remember that item number 6 is being held with, heard with 12 later on in the agenda, so that's where we're jumping around. So item number 8.
Thank you, Council. LaShawn Dock, Development Coordination. The next item is item number 8. This is REZ 2280. This is for the property located at 2213 North 65th Street. The applicant is Yuri Diaz, and the request is to rezone the property from RS 50 Residential Single Family to Industrial General IG. And I'll turn it over to Danny to give you his report, and then I'll come back and give you my report. Thank you.
Thank you.
Danny Collins, again with your Planning Commission staff, have been sworn in. Our next case is within the Central Tampa Planning District, and more specifically in the East Side Commercial Neighborhood. Kenley Park is the closest public recreation facility, located approximately 0.3 miles northeast of the subject site. Subject site is approximately 300 feet south of East Columbus Drive. East Columbus Drive is a transit emphasis corridor. The subject site is located within a level D evacuation zone. Here is an aerial map of the subject site and the surrounding property. The surrounding area contains a mix of uses, including light and heavy commercial, light industrial, and single-family detached uses. The heavy industrial and commercial uses along this portion of Columbus, there are a presence of heavy industrial and commercial uses along this portion of Columbus Drive. Here is the adopted future land use map. The subject site is within the transitional use 24 designation. The TU 24 designation allows a variety of uses, anything from light industrial all the way up to residential uses. That transitional use 24 surrounds the site on all sides. The TU 24 designation has the potential of creating a development pattern that does not adequately mitigate for intense uses allowed under this designation, since it does allow for a variety of uses. The proposed IG zoning district can be considered under the TU 24 designation as consistent with the consistency matrix in section 27-21 of the Land Development Code. Due to the range of commercial and industrial uses in the immediate area, the industrial general zoning district would be appropriate for this site. Additionally, any development on the subject site must meet the requirements within the LDC at the time of permitting. The Tampa Comprehensive Plan promotes compatible development and redevelopment to sustain neighborhoods, ensure the social and economic health of the city. Through the rezoning process, the plan discourages residential development near industrial zone areas. The proposed IG zoning supports this policy direction by discouraging the potential residential development in an area with industrial uses. In conclusion, the proposed IG zoning district would provide for development that is comparable and compatible with the existing development pattern, while also being consistent with the TU 24 designation. Furthermore, the request will continue to recognize industrial lands for their support to key economic engines within the city. Based on these considerations, the Planning Commission staff finds the request consistent with the goals, objectives, and policies of the City of Tampa Comprehensive Plan. This concludes my presentation. I'm available for any questions.
Do we have any questions? Thank you very much. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you again, Council. LaShawn Dock, Development Coordination. And the subject site is requesting the industrial general zoning on the property. I'll go ahead and show you the aerial again. This may look familiar to you, this area, because not long ago there was a request to rezone just south of this property on the same street.
Isn't that 6 Mile Creek?
On
6
65th.
Mile Creek area?
It probably was,
6 Mile Creek area?
yes. And the request also was to rezone from RS 50 to IG, so this map has not been updated yet. But this is located south of Broadway on 65th Street. And then this is on the east side of 65th Street, and that's the property identified in red. You can see it's surrounded with RS50 zoning, but when you're out on site, that is not the use that exists out on site. There are a lot of industrial or commercial uses within the area, although that zoning exists. So staff found a request consistent with that area. But this is the site that's on 65th Street. Got a couple of more pictures of the site. And like I said, most of the uses are the commercial or industrial, like the open storage uses, in that vicinity.
What's the use?
This is
What's the use currently gonna be used for? Do you know?
currently on the site now is, I believe there's open storage,
Open source?
is what it appears on the site. It's vacant, but there's automobiles stored, I believe, on site. And the applicant can confirm, but I think that's what it is. And then this is the one residence that's on the street, and that is further south. So this is towards the end of that street. This is looking north. This is west of the site. And then this is another picture west of the site. And as I mentioned, the DRC staff has reviewed the request. We found the request consistent, and I'm available if you have any questions.
Any questions? Nope, thank you very much.
And yes, come on.
You're it?
All right, please state your name.
¿Tu nombre?
Yuri Diaz.
And I'm Elizabeth Ortiz. I'll be translating for him.
Great.
Yuri, Yuri Díaz.
Go ahead, go ahead.
Okay, ¿para qué usted viene?
Yo estoy haciendo el cambio quiero hacer la zonificación para cambiarlo, para parquear camiones. Industria general para parquear
We
camiones.
like to rezone to be able to park trucks.
All right. Any questions? Well, is that the entire?
It sounded like a lot, but is that, that was it, yes.
That's it?
Como dicen en Cuba, take it easy, no te pongas.
Right.
Slow.
Okay, any questions for the applicant? No? Do we have anybody from the public that wishes to speak on this item, item number 8? I see no one. I do not have anyone registered to speak.
Move close.
We have motion closed from Councilmember Goods, second from Councilmember Miranda. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Councilmember Goods, item number 8, please.
Hey, Mr. Chairman, file number REZ-22-80. Orders being presented for first reading consideration. In order to rezoning property in the general vicinity of 2213 North 65th Street in the city of Tampa, Florida, and more particularly described in section 1 from zoning district classification RS50 residential single family to IG Industrial General, providing an effective date. Second?
You got more?
I was gonna go, the proposed zoning district will allow for better utilization of land that is consistent with intensity and participated under the Measure Use 24 designation. And is appropriate at the location given the diverse range of commercial industrial uses in the surrounding area.
All right, we have a motion from Councilmember Goods, second from Councilmember Hurtak. Roll call?
Miranda,
Yes.
Hurtak,
Yes.
Carlson,
Yes.
Goods,
Yes.
Vieira, Maniscalco,
Yes.
Citro. Motion carried unanimously with Vieira and Citro being absent. Second reading and adoption will be held on January 5th, 2023 at 9:30 a.m.
All right, you got,
And the last one.
yeah, you
Thank
got,
you.
Thank you.
you
Thank
got
you.
first approval, and then we read it again, and
And
that'll
then
be
we'll see.
final
That'll-
approval.
And then also say,
Okay, thank you.
thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. All right, next is item number 10.
Yes, thank you, Council. LaShawn, Dock Development Coordination. And our next item, item number 10, is for REZ 2296. This is for the property located at 18202 East Meadows Road. The applicant is Clayton Bricklemeyer, and this request is to rezone from PD, which allows for a strip shopping center and all CG uses, to PD, vehicle repair for a car wash. And I'll turn it over to Danny to provide his report, and then I'll come back and give my report. Thank you.
Danny Collins again with your Planning Commission staff. I've been sworn in. Our next case is in the New Tampa Planning District, and more specifically in the New Tampa neighborhood. Branchton Park is the closest public recreation facility, located approximately 0.1 miles south east of the subject site. Subject site is not within proximity to transit, and the site is not within an evacuation zone. Here's an aerial map of the subject site and the surrounding properties. You'll see the subject site here. It's outlined in purple color. The subject site is surrounded by a mix of uses. There is a Publix directly to the northeast of the subject site. This is a storage unit here. And then an elementary school is northwest of the subject site. There's also some residential uses in proximity to the west of the subject site. Here is the adopted future land use map. A majority of the subject sites recognized under the Suburban Mixed Use 3 future land use designation. There is a portion on the western boundary that's approximately 0.28 acres that is designated environmental sensitive areas, which cannot be considered for development due to the site being less than 25, or because there's less than 25% of the site within the ESA and wetlands. The site cannot be considered for wetland credit. The Planning Commission staff reviewed the request and finds the request will have no adverse impacts on the surrounding area. The plan promotes development that is sensitive to adjacent uses and to minimize impacts on the surrounding area. The PD proposes a 0.03 FAR, which is well below the intensity that can be considered under the SMU3 designation. The surrounding area is characterized by a mix of single-family attached uses, light commercial, public, semi-public uses, and an elementary school, as mentioned, that is to the northwest of the subject site. The Planning Commission staff finds that the proposed PD is comparable and compatible with the surrounding development pattern. The comprehensive plan promotes pedestrian safety and encourages commercial development that enhances the city of Tampa's character and ambience. Specifically, the plan encourages commercial development to connect building entrances to public rights-of-way and provide sidewalks in areas that are practical and feasible for pedestrian-oriented activities. The PD proposes or creates a pedestrian-oriented development by providing sidewalks along all adjacent public rights-of-way, including a pathway connecting the sidewalk on East Meadows Road to the entrance to the structure. The proposed sidewalks along all adjacent right-of-ways will help ensure sidewalks interconnect with existing and future sidewalks on adjacent properties. Based on these considerations, the Planning Commission staff finds the request consistent with the goals, objectives, and policies of the City of Tampa Comprehensive Plan. That concludes my presentation. I'm available for any questions.
Any questions? No? Thank you. LaShawn?
Thank you again, Council. LaShawn Dock, Development Coordination. And again, as mentioned, this request is to rezone to a PD. It's for the use of a car wash, which is vehicle minor repair. The property is currently zoned as a PD. It does allow for all CG uses as a part of the current rezoning approval for the PD. The changes that are proposed, well, the actual request and the placement of the building proposed today, which is before you, it contains changes which would require a new PD. So that is why this request is before you today, because the alteration of the building proposed, although this use is allowed in the current PD rezoning. So the request is, that was approved in 2017. That was never developed, as you can see by the pictures provided for you, showing the lot as being vacant. And this request proposes 4,117 square feet of structure that would be contained within 1 story. So this is the site plan that was submitted. So to orient you, this is East Meadows Road, this arched roadway. This is Cross Creek Boulevard to the south. And then this is the proposed car wash, which will be located here within this building structure. So vehicular access to the site is proposed on East Meadows with an in only. At this point, vehicles can travel through, travel around, go through the car wash, and exit the site to the northeast. And then parking is located in front of the building. And then these are the wetland areas which are identified, which have been mentioned. There's over 1.5 acres of wetland areas, which is consistent with the ESA future land use designation Danny has explained to you, which exists surrounding the site. These are elevations of the site. So the top is the south elevation, the bottom picture is the north elevation, and then we get to our west and our eastern elevations of the site. And then I have a zoning map. So this is the property that is identified in red. This is Cross Creek Boulevard. This is Morridge Bridge Road, which is to the east. So I have pictures of the commercial that exists northeast, and then the school and the storage unit is to the north. And then south of Cross Creek Boulevard, you can see that the property is vacant there. And so I'll zoom in. So this is a view of the site. The site is on the right in this picture, and this is the view if you're looking south on East Meadows. And the site is located here. This is another view of the site. We'll work our way around, heading toward the north boundary. That's northeast. The northeast portion of the site is located here. This is East Meadows. Your commercial is located to the right of the picture. This is another view of the site. This is if you're from the east looking towards the site. And this is the very east end of the site. The school is located here. That's a part of the school parking lot. That's a picture of the school located to the north. You have the public storage, which is also located to the north. And then this is the commercial, which is northeast of the site. And then that's a view south of the site, the vacant land across Cross Creek. And staff has reviewed the request and finds the request consistent. There are modifications to be made to the site plan between first and second reading, and the applicant agrees to make those changes. That concludes my presentation. I'm available for questions.
Councilman Gear.
Thank you very much, and thank you for that. What, out of curiosity, what school is that, if you know?
The
Or maybe the
school
applicant can
is,
tell us.
I don't remember by heart, but I think
It's a private school?
it's Heritage Elementary School.
Okay, good, just making, okay, thank you very much.
Absolutely.
And question, those pictures, is that even in the city of Tampa? I'm joking.
It is.
New Tampa joke.
It's out there, but it is.
New Tampa
It's close.
That's a good one. Mr. Bricklemeyer.
Good evening, Council. Clayton Bricklemeyer, Hillward Henderson, 101 East Kennedy Boulevard. I did go to the county center first, Councilman Vera, and I realized where I was. I don't have anything to add. Those were solid presentations. The use is actually already allowed. Explaining to somebody from out of town that they have to come back and do a PD for a PD to do the thing that's allowed in the PD was a little confusing, but we got there, and I would just ask for your approval, and we're available for questions.
Any questions? Anybody in the public that wishes to speak on item number 10? I see no one. I see no one registered. We have a motion to close from Councilman Miranda, second from Councilman Goods. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Council Member Hurtak, if you would like to read item number 10.
Yes. File number REZ 22-96, ordinance being presented for first reading consideration. An ordinance rezoning property in the general vicinity of 18202 East Meadows Road in the city of Tampa, Florida, and more particularly described in section 1 from zoning district classification PD plan development to PD plan development vehicle repair minor / car wash, providing an effective date.
We have a motion from Councilmember Hurtak, second from Councilmember Miranda. Roll call.
Carlson,
Yes.
Goods,
Yes?
Viera,
Yes.
Maniscalco,
Yes.
Miranda,
Yes.
Hurtak,
Yes.
Citro. Motion carried unanimously with Citro being absent.
All right.
Second reading and adoption will be held on January 5th, 2023 at 9:30 a.m.
Thank you very much. At this speed, with 2 more cases to go, we might be out by 7 o'clock.
You might be, Mr. Chairman.
There's no jinx. There's no jinx. I'm looking at the registered speakers. Hey. Yes, ma'am.
Yes, Council.
Item number 13.
So this is, I believe we're at the point where item 6 would be heard with
Oh, that's
item
right, that's
12.
right.
Yes, so just as a reminder.
Yes,
So we
ma'am.
would hear item 6 and
We'll
along
begin
with
with
item
6,
12.
yes.
Thank you.
Ross Sammons, Development Coordination, presenting file number BAC 22-26. I'd like to ask the clerk to please share my screen, please. Again, Ross Sammons, Development Coordination, presenting VAC 22-26. The applicant is Briar Community Incorporated. Representative's name is Alex Shaler. Property address is located at 1613 North Marion Street. Proposed vacating request is to vacate the alley lying north of Estelle Street, south of Henderson Avenue, east of Marion Street, and west of Morgan Street. This application was filed on August 11th, 2022. The applicant owns property on the north and south side of the alley that is requested to be vacated. The applicant's reason for the application is for development of a project associated with rezoning 22-116. All abutting property owners are applicants to this request. The alley was created by a subdivision plat, and as it exists, it's approximately 2,751 square feet. The applicant's properties are in red. Is the aerial map, and the proposed vacating request for the alley in yellow. Internal City of Tampa atlas sheet showing the proposed vacating in pink. The alley is in pink, and the property owner's property is in gray. Here's an image of the alleyway looking east from Marion Street. Another image of the alleyway looking west from Morgan Street. The applicant's property looking south from the alley at Morgan Street. Applicant's property looking north from the alley at Morgan Street. The applicant's property on the north side of the alley at Marion Street. Applicant's property on the south side of the alley at Marion Street. This is the alley continuation looking west from Marion Street that was previously vacated. And this is an alley continuation looking east from Morgan Street. This portion is not to be vacated. Staff have no objections to this vacating request. Easement reservations are needed for TICO and Frontier. Special conditions for natural resources must comply with Chapter 27 in regard to tree preservation and site design for improvements placed adjacent to trees in any vacated areas. That concludes my presentation. I'm available if you have any questions.
Any questions? Nope, thank you very much. Yes, ma'am?
Yes, Council, LaShawn Dock Development Coordination. So this is item number 12, and this is the associated rezoning with this request. This is REZ 22-116. The request is to rezone the property from CI RM24 and PD, Plan Development, to PD to allow for residential multifamily, storefront residential, commercial, and office. The applicant is Michael Caspian, represented by Tyler Hudson. And I'll just show you the vicinity because this consists of multiple properties. So on the aerial map, you can see the area is identified in red. This is bounded by Florida Avenue on the west. Henderson is to the north. Morgan Street is on the east. And then Estelle is on the south. So this request consists of that area. And I'll turn it over to Danny to give you his report, and then I'll come back and give my report. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Danny Collins again with your Planning Commission staff. I've been sworn in. Our next case is within the Central Tampa Planning District, and more specifically in the Tampa Heights neighborhood. The subject site is adjacent to 2 transit stops that are served by Heart Routes 1, 5, and 6. These routes provide service to downtown Tampa, the University Area Transfer Center. Waterworks Park is the closest public recreation facility located within a quarter-mile west of the subject site. Subject site is within a level D evacuation zone. Here's an aerial map of the subject site and the surrounding properties. You'll see the subject site is just to the east and west of North Marion Street, generally southeast of North Florida Avenue. Here is the adopted future land use map. The subject site is recognized under the Community Commercial 35 future land use designation. The site's within the CBD periphery bonus area. Under the CC 35, the subject site can be considered up to a 4.0 FAR through the CBD periphery of bonus. The CC 35 is the predominant land use category along Florida Avenue. A couple blocks west of the subject site is land recognized on RMU 100, and then to the north and east of the subject site is land recognized under the residential 83 land use designation. The Planning Commission staff reviewed the request and found the rezoning supports several policies in the comprehensive plan. The application proposes a 4.0 FAR, which is consistent with the intensity anticipated under the CC 35 designation through the CBD periphery bonus. The rezoning supports policies related to the development within mixed-use corridors. The proposed mixed-use building is placed close to the public rights-of-way, and entrances are oriented to the adjacent public rights-of-way. The existing 6-foot sidewalks are provided along all adjacent public rights-of-way and are wide enough to accommodate significant pedestrian traffic. The PD proposes safe access to transit stops located along North Florida Avenue, which is a transit emphasis corridor and an area suitable for intensification. The request supports many of the comprehensive plan policies related to housing the city's population. The comprehensive plan encourages new housing on vacant and underutilized land to ensure an adequate supply of housing is available to meet the needs of Tampa's present and future populations. Finally, the request will provide additional housing choices in proximity to transit, employment, and commercial services, specifically found along Florida Avenue. In conclusion, the request is comparable and compatible with the surrounding area. The request furthers several policies related to development in mixed-use corridors and urban villages. Furthermore, the request will provide an additional 456 housing units within the Tampa Heights neighborhood. Based on these considerations, the Planning Commission staff finds the request consistent with the goals, objectives, and policies of the City of Tampa Comprehensive Plan. This concludes my presentation. I'm available for any questions.
Any questions for the gentleman? No? Thank you very much.
Thank you again, Council. LaShawn Dock, Development Coordination. And for this rezoning request, this site contains approximately 123,753 square feet, or 2.8 acres. The site plan identifies 2 buildings which are proposed. One is a west building and the other is the east building. And I'll show you on the site plan here. The west building proposes 18 floors, and it proposes the uses of residential, multifamily, and storefront residential and commercial office, while the east building would contain 7 floors. And it would contain a residential multifamily and the parking garage. There's 351 units proposed in the west building, and this is identified as the west building on the site plan. And then this is the east building pictured here. And then in the east building, there's a unit count of 105 proposed. There's 15,000 square feet of commercial proposed in the western building. So on this site plan, Henderson Avenue is to the north to orient you, and then this is Florida Avenue, bordered on the west, and then this is Estelle Street, and this is Morgan Street. And you can see the 2 buildings located here. The bridges would connect actually here and here. 2 sky bridges are proposed to create that connection. So this is the zoning map, the zoning atlas, and you can see, again, this is the property. This is identified in red on Florida Avenue in Henderson. You can see the site is surrounded with PD zoning districts to the north. You've got some CI zoning, which runs along Florida Avenue, of course, on that corridor. And then you've got the pockets of the RM 24 that's located to the northeast and east of the site. And then pictures of the site and surrounding the area. So this is to the north of the site. This is the north end of the site. This is on Henderson. This is located west of the site. This is at the southwest corner at Florida. Another view of the site at the north end. This is on Marion Street. This is another view of the site on Marion. This is the daycare, which is located on the southwest corner. It's another view of the site. We're heading further south. This is the south end of the site as we approach on Marion. This is northwest of the site. That's on the corner of Florida and Henderson. This is the south end of the site that's looking east. This is located north, east of the site. I wrote northwest, it's northeast of the site. This is north, the site is to the right in this picture, so this is if you're looking east on Henderson. And this is the substation that's there to the south, the TECO substation. So we have site plan modifications to be made to the plan between first and second reading. And the applicant has agreed to make those modifications. I have a revised revision sheet to provide to you. There are 2 sheets to provide to you. One contains the site plan revisions, the other would have revisions also, but one is to add a note to the site plan between first and second reading to provide 5% affordable housing, and the other is to add a note to allow the daycare to remain in place until construction. Another point to note is when staff reviewed the request was found inconsistent with site plan modifications required, of course, but Water Department had a finding of inconsistent. Their finding is actually consistent. The applicant has agreed to make those changes between first and second reading on the site plan. So it just did not make the deadline for the hearing, the submittal, but that finding is consistent from the Water Department. And that concludes staff's presentation. Yes.
Councilman Goode.
I'm
I
available.
thought I heard something, you said something about the affordable housing and daycare. I mean, I didn't understand that clearly.
Yes, and the applicant, I'll let them expand on that, but they have advised that they are providing affordable housing. I believe it is 5% of the units would be affordable, and then the daycare center would be allowed to remain in place until construction
It's
starts.
private
and they may
development,
have a
are we
deadline.
giving dollars to them, or it's just what they're trying to do, be nice?
This is what they are on their own. They're offering to provide these, the affordable units. But also, there is a bonus agreement which would run with this rezoning request, and it would be heard at second reading. That bonus agreement provides the developer to provide payment, and that's on page 2 of the staff report. So in addition to providing payment for the bonus agreement, for the bonus density to go to a 4.0 FAR, they're also providing the 5% affordable housing.
Any other questions?
Mr. Chairman.
Councilman?
Just a, sorry.
Yes, ma'am. Councilwoman Hurd.
I thought the bonus agreement was to underground utilities and for upgrades to the, I guess, the sidewalks and the areas. Did I get that wrong?
No, not at all. Kate Wells, for the record, the bonus provision agreement requires, it values the increase in density from 1.0 to 4.0 to be over $5.5 million. That, what the developer is committed to doing is relocating and undergrounding the utilities in the area as well as making some other streetscape enhancements. The affordable housing component is not related to the bonus provision agreement, is not part of the request for an increase in density. Typically, if a developer wanted to provide affordable housing as the amenity to increase the density or intensity, there would be a requirement that the affordable housing component be 10% of the residential units. So I heard that they're proposing 5%. So that's why you won't see that as in the bonus provision agreement.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Shelby?
that was addressed. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. All right. Yes, sir.
Good evening, Council. Tyler Hudson, 400 North Ashley Drive with the law firm Gardner Brewer Hudson. This might be a good time to do a quick swear-in break because I think there's been a bit of turnover in the room.
Yeah, okay, we had a few people come in since we swore everybody in, so if anybody is here to speak on any item on the agenda, please stand and raise your right hand and we'll swear you in. Bless you.
Please raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm the testimony that you're about to give is the truth and nothing but the truth? I do. Thank you.
Bless you again.
Thanks. Good evening, Council. It's a pleasure to be here on what will be one of the fastest rezoning nights that I can recall in recent memory.
A lot of people came in.
Told you I wouldn't jinx it. I wouldn't jinx it. Here with me this evening is Patton Chilura, who's better known as one of the Chill Bros. He's one of the developers of this project, along with Brett Gelsomino, his development partner. Of course, my colleague Alex Shaler's here. He's going to be talking in a little bit. Our civil engineering team is Kimley Horn and Scott Gilder and Ben Plant are here. Dark Moss is our arborist, and Ricky Paterica is in the room to talk a little bit about some of the natural resources waivers. And finally, Finfrock was the architect. So I think we're pretty clear on the location of the site. It appears a little bit like 2 blocks, although you'll note in a second that it's about the size of a normal city block in Tampa Heights. Once you get north of Henderson, it's where Marion Street terminates, just north of our site. It's currently the Cass Schuler Law Firm, which has the helpful time and temperature as you drive north on Florida Avenue. It's just a little bit under 3 acres, and it's well within the CBD periphery. It's really close to downtown itself. The site's just really a block and a quarter outside of the central business district, which is going to be important as we go in detail a little bit later into some of the waivers that we need. To set the table, some of this might sound a little bit familiar to council because it was a year less 4 days ago that council unanimously approved REZ 2186. That's the empty block that's just north of the Salvation Army office building. That was a project that it was a little bit smaller than this. It was 8 stories of mixed use, 321 units. This project is a little bit more dense, but it's the same developer and the project team, fairly similar too, in that there's the bonus density agreement was for some utility relocations and streetscape improvements, but as Patton will talk about a little bit later on, affordable housing was something that meant a lot to him, that meant a lot to the neighborhood, and so that's a voluntary contribution that they're making. And with that, Alex is going to walk through a little bit of the site, and I'll be back to talk about waivers.
Alex Shaler, 400 North Ashley Drive, for the record. The first application we have before you is our right-of-way vacating application. The alley we're proposing to vacate, as Ross mentioned, it's shown in yellow here, and I have the green boundary for the site still on the screen so you can see that for reference. As you can see, the alley as it exists today pretty much prohibits any kind of unified development on the eastern portion of this block, and that is why we're proposing the vacating. And the western portion has already been vacated, so this does not disrupt any kind of grid connection to Florida Avenue. And as mentioned by Ross, we do not have any objections from any of the utility providers on this application as well. So run through the site plan. LaShawn did a really good job setting this up, so I'll try to be brief and running through the stuff that she already mentioned. There are 2 buildings, as she mentioned, west and east. The western building, 18-floor multifamily. That commercial will line the entire Florida Avenue frontage on the ground floor. The eastern block will be 7 floors multifamily, a wrap product around the parking garage. The site is bifurcated by Marion Street, and we're trying to use this and actually enhance Marion Street and have that be a significant component of this project. As LaShawn mentioned, there are 2 sky bridges that will integrate these buildings, a 30-foot minimum clearance for each of those. It's along the top and then also around or on the southern portion of Marion Street. Marion Street will have walk-up units. There's doors located on each side of the street, as well as parallel parking, sidewalks, landscaping as well, to really create that almost downtown CBD feel as you walk through Marion Street. The access for the western building, there's 2 points. There's a northern access as well as a southern point off of Estelle, which is shared with solid waste and loading. On the eastern building, we have an access point off of Morgan Street. This is ingress and egress for the parking garage. And then there's another access point off of Estelle, and that is limited to solid waste and loading only. And also the last note on the screen to the left, we are providing a 10-foot wide transportation easement between the sidewalk and the edge of the building. This is for that extension of the streetcar, which I will go into detail about now. On the screen is a historic map of the streetcar. We showed this with REZ 2186 as well. So as you can see, this area, our site is located where that small green star is on the map. This area has been historically planned to be serviced by transit. And we want to embrace that past and synergize that with the future here and what we're providing with this easement. So that the purple line on the left side of the site, again, that's that 10-foot wide transportation easement. So you can see where it's physically located on the site. And then we have a map showing that proposed streetcar route to the right of the slides, as you can see, traveling north up Florida Avenue, looping around and then back down south along Tampa Street. And we feel this is really important, not only for our specific site, but for the Heights community as a whole, as it'll provide an efficient connection from the site all the way to the downtown core and the city center, and one that does not require a car. We're grateful for all of staff's hard work on this project, working with us to bring another great project to Tampa Heights. And Planning Commission did find this application consistent, as well as all the other reviewing departments listed on the right-hand side of the screen. We do have a few waivers in conjunction with this application, and at this time, I will toss this back to Tyler, who's going to run through some of the details and our justification behind those.
So council, in the record, there's a fairly substantial memo that goes through each waiver in maybe a little bit less than excruciating detail. I'm going to spare that and then just go through a summary. This set of waivers are presented to you for literally like every rezoning you see in the CBD periphery. It's not physically possible to accommodate the density that the comp plan calls for in these higher density areas with the zoning code as it is. So let's talk about the first one, which is access. This is a waiver that we actually might, between first and second reading, talk to staff about whether it's truly necessary. There's a provision in the code, it's a bit odd. It states that you can't use a local street to get to a non-residential parking garage or parking lot. So, well, this is a residential project, right? But there is a commercial component, so this is arguably triggered. Unfortunately, we have no option but to use local streets because Estelle, Marion, and Henderson are all local streets. And the Florida Department of Transportation will not let us put any curb cuts on Florida Avenue. The neighborhood doesn't want curb cuts on Florida Avenue. So we really have no choice here. And I think this one's pretty self-explanatory. Parking, we are requesting a parking reduction. This site has the highest walk score I've ever seen on a project. It's called a, quote, walker's paradise, which I didn't know that was a category. And there's really two areas of justification I want to talk about on parking. The first is that this is the type of location where a car optional lifestyle is truly possible. You are within easy walking distance of certainly the office buildings that are going into the Armature Works area, downtown. It's a short walk or bike ride over into Ybor City. From a transit perspective, this site has the best transit, probably any other site I've worked on, that you have the two highest ridership HART routes, which is the 6 and the 1 respectively, which have 15-minute frequencies at the site. It's the potential location, as Alex alluded to, of an expanded streetcar, maybe it's a BRT, who knows. But this is a site where you truly could have a car option lifestyle. You've got a grocery store, we're just about a block away. So we believe that this is about the maximum amount of parking that we would need. It's also, I think, pretty consistent with the reductions that we're seeing in this area. It's also important to think, well, what's the reduction from? What's the baseline? So we talked a little bit about New Tampa. The parking situation for this piece of land that's a block and a quarter north of the CBD, it has the same parking code as all of Councilman Vieira's district. And those are two pretty different places, with the latter likely not seeing 18-story apartments anytime soon. So our requirement's 848 spaces. If you were to pick this project up and drop it in Ybor City, we'd have to have just 501 spaces. And due to some recent changes that this council has approved in the Central Business District and Channel District, we would only have to have 350 spaces. We believe the number of parking spaces that we are providing is what the market's requiring, based on providing some for retail. And if you count all the retail spaces we're giving, and bear in mind, a lot of the folks that use this retail are probably going to live in the area, we're still parking the residential units at 1.3 per unit, which the utilization rate in downtown is 1.25. So Patton can talk a little bit more about this, but we've thought a lot about this, and we think this number is right, but it is lower than what the code would literally require, and that's the need. That's where the waiver comes in. Loading, council, like you'll see these quite frequently. The code really loads you up with loading berths based sheerly just on your square footage of the building, not what the actual building is going to be. So we're going to have two loading berths that qualify. One is a 12 by 60 that's in the west building, another a 12 by 30 on the eastern building, but you'll note other spaces that are highlighted in yellow on the screen. Those are areas where the trash is going to be located, and so for all but perhaps 30 minutes a week, those would work as loading berths. If for some reason there were multiple large box trucks all moving in simultaneously, which we don't think is probably ever going to happen. And I would note that there is on-street parking, a pretty significant amount lining Marion Street there in the middle. So we don't think there's going to be any issue at all with move in and move out. And the type of retail that we're anticipating being here, it's not going to be a Target. We're not going to have large scale deliveries. Trees. We'll talk first about the grand oaks. There are two non-hazardous grand oaks that we really have no choice to remove. We did 2 reasonable reconfigurations. Ricky did with Aaron, and he can talk about that if you have any questions. One is smack dab in the middle of the eastern block. There was really nothing we could do there. The second tree looks like it's on the edge. When we did the reasonable reconfigurations, there's really no way to have a single building and keep that tree due to the protected tree radius. So we did the best we could, but these trees unfortunately aren't consistent or compatible with what we have in mind for the footprint. On retainage, what's currently there now, it's a law firm, it's a CrossFit gym, and it's a daycare. Those development patterns are wholly inconsistent with the types of massing that we're putting on here. And so we aren't proposing to retain any of the trees on site, but putting better trees, newer trees is something that the developer cares a lot about. It's something that we've promised to do in connection with our bonus agreement, where we only get credit to the extent that we go above and beyond code. Marion Street in particular is where we think there's an opportunity to perhaps even replace every second or third on-street parking space with a really significant tree planting to get some really nice shade trees and some pay extra for some mature trees to make up a little bit for lost time. If this project were downtown, downtown obviously doesn't have, outside the parks doesn't have a ton of green space. You have a lot of street trees and right-of-way trees. That's what we're going to do. We're going to work with Aaron, do the best we can to maximize that in the permitting stage. But that is something that Patton can talk a little bit about. That is something that's very meaningful to us, creating an actual shaded, kind of nice area in the project. And with that, I'm going to ask Patton to come up and talk a little bit.
Just this button, right? Yeah. Good evening, Commissioners. As Tyler said, I am the oldest of the 3 Chill brothers. Commissioner Goods, were you able to go try guava pastelito? Were you able to try guava pastelito at Chill Bros? You told us you were.
Brothers is my favorite ice cream.
Oh, that's yours. That's yours. You got to go check it out. All right. So I'm obviously not here on behalf of Chill Bros tonight. Although this project will certainly be something that we look for potentially as a 6th or 7th location. We're currently on number 4. I'm here representing Loci Capital as the developer on the project. We're a Tampa-based private equity and development firm. I'm here with Brett Gelsomino, who's a former ZOM executive and the lead developer on the Chart House in Rocky Point, which is a project I think Tampa's pretty proud of. This is our second project, as Tyler said. About a year ago today, we brought a project in front of you guys for a 321-unit development 1 block to the north. We're rapidly approaching a groundbreaking on that in probably about a month and a half. So we're pretty excited about it and appreciate helping us get into the point where we are today. As Tyler said, my company loves this submarket for all the reasons Tyler pointed out. It is a walker's paradise. A biker's paradise as well. We can get all over Tampa, all over the immediate first ring kind of suburbs, downtown itself, Water Street, Channelside, North Hyde Park, Ybor, and hopefully soon we'll be directly on the rails of the new streetcar extension, just adding another positive mass transit or public transit opportunity. As I mentioned, this is the second project that we've worked on over the last 2 years. I've worked diligently on really 2 very complex assemblages in this submarket. Gotten to know the community, gotten to know the neighbors, gotten to know business owners, all the stakeholders in the area. And this community really does want to see development. They want to see progress. They want to see improved walkability. They want to see street retail. They want to see street activation. And they want to get more people living down here in the area. But most importantly, they want to keep Tampa Heights an inclusive and diverse community. So my group has made a commitment to providing a 5% affordable set aside, as we discussed. Not to satisfy a bonus payment, but because we think it's the right thing to do, especially in our backyard. I mean, I'm a fourth generation Tampanian, and I think it's, I do think it's the right thing. Let's see.
Councilman Miranda, you had a question?
No, I was just gonna ask the gentleman, he knows a lot more than I do, but what was that corner at one time back in the 50s?
In the 50s?
I know you weren't there. I don't think you were.
No, I was not. I was
I'll
not.
tell you that.
I'll have to call up my grandfather. Well, it was originally a car dealer, or a car
Exactly
lot.
right, Holsinger Ford.
Yep.
Yeah, the building across the street with the new one. And Baker's Billiards around the
Yeah,
corner.
corner. I earned my living there.
Really? That's awesome. So as I touched on, we've got the support of the neighborhood. I believe we've got 20 plus letters. We got a few speakers and no in opposition. These supporters range from doctors, lawyers, office users, people that have been in the neighborhood for as little as a year and a half, all the way up to, in some cases, 50 plus years. We've got the support of nonprofit groups like A Brighter Communities, which is kind of Tampa's oldest nonprofit daycare, serving kind of our at-risk communities and families. We got the support of the Salvation Army and the YMCA, Tampa staples like the Columbia Restaurant Group in Eulalie, and the new kids on the block like Roca, King State, Fancy Free Nursery. I don't need to go through all of them, but I assure you the support's there. I'm extremely excited about the project. We're extremely excited about the project in the neighborhood. It's going to bring a lot of good to the community, and I hope to have your support. Thanks.
Thank you very much. Any questions? Anybody? No? Anybody else in part of your presentation? That concludes it. Would anybody in the public wish to speak on this project? If you'd like to speak, please come up and state your name, and you'll have 3 minutes. Yes, sir, go ahead.
Good evening. My name is Mark Court. I'm a local real estate broker. I'll keep it very brief, hopefully far less than 3 minutes. I'm in support of this project. I am currently in the early stages of renovating a historic bungalow very nearby for hopefully my future office space. I work in residential property management, and I find that my experience is we're still experiencing a shortage of rental housing inventory, and I think this would help alleviate that. I also very much am in support of the mixed use and the retail spaces. So with that, I think I'm done.
Thank you very much. Next up, yes, ma'am. Please state your name.
Yes, my name is Maureen Aral. I believe it was a year ago I was here supporting a similar project. I am a stakeholder in Tampa Heights. I actually own a former automobile dealership, the Ferris Building, which is 1 block west of the proposal this evening. And that building, a few years after extensive renovations on my part, became a local landmark in Tampa. In 2018, I helped establish the Yellow Brick Road Business Association, which has now included all the commercial businesses on the Upper North Franklin Street Commercial District. It is a historic district. We were thrilled as business owners at the end of 2019 when primarily from the tenants in my building, the Hall on Franklin and Creative Loafing, we celebrated the best year for reactivation in this district. My sole tenant on the first floor had 10 to 15,000 transactions a month. That's mostly driven by pedestrian traffic. And he recorded 4.4 million in sales. Everybody was happy, and then we had the pandemic. And in 2020 and 2021, foot traffic basically has gone to zero, sales have gone to zero, and we are starving. And we decided what we need 1,000% is residents, because when bad things happen, businesses close, but residents reside. We want people walking there, we want to build the energy back. And so many of these businesses have suffered. They want something more consistent, and we think the only way to bring that about is to have residential development, and that is now our sole purpose of the Business Association. And with that, I will close. Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right, next person, please state your name.
My name is Tony Kroll. For the record, I live in the Tampa Heights neighborhood at 3907 North Dartmouth Avenue. I'm on the northwest quadrant of the neighborhood, and I also sit on the board of the Tampa Heights Civic Association for the as a northwest quadrant rep. And I run businesses and and I'm a stakeholder with like Cafe Hey and the director of Bloom on Franklin, which is a grassroots entertainment art walk that we started down Franklin Street to sort of revive the arts and entertainment and small business collaboration on Franklin Street, sort of how it used to be, back in the day. So we work with Tampa Theater and other businesses. For this North Quadrant, I support this project just because we have a good relationship with this developer through the Civic Association. But one of the main points that we bring up whenever we talk to developers in Tampa Heights Civic Association is affordable housing, because of the diversity of the neighborhood and the historical importance of that diversity in the neighborhood. So we're from a homeowner and a business owner and a stakeholder in the neighborhood fully support this project because they've done everything they possibly could to make those conditions for affordable housing and make that work.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next up, please state your name.
Hello, good evening. Happy December. Can't believe it's Christmas time, but that tree is really making it noticeable. My name is Alexander Markopoulos, and I am a current resident of Tampa Heights. I am in full support of this project, main reason being one, we just touched on, I think if it's not in all your minds, I don't know what will be. Walker's Paradise, it's now going to be a hot word for me if I ever do list my house, which I don't have any intention of doing. But with that said, I personally drive through this area every single day, and it's a bit of an eyesore. I feel comfortable walking near Armature Works, riding my bike around that area, and I could only hope and imagine what this type of project would also allow us to expand that same feeling and the walkability of those areas also into this area. However, as much as I would like that personally, my favorite part of this development is the fact that they are keeping the diversity at top of mind, so giving accessible housing, keeping Tampa Heights diverse. I think that that's super important and something that we should take in stride. With that said, looking to the future, this is something that I think is going to continue to propel Tampa as one of those places that, yes, everyone wants to live, but everyone will want to keep on living because of the accessibility. But with that said, that's all I've got, and thank you.
Thank you very much. Next speaker, please state your name.
Thank you for allowing me to speak. I'm Linda Devine, and I'm here representing the Rotary Club of Tampa tonight. I am the immediate past president, and our club has been in Tampa since 1914, and we're one of the oldest Rotary clubs in the world. And our club is in support of this project, but it probably comes to you in an odd way or an unusual way. And I want to tell you about that. I received a call from Patton earlier this year, and I thought he wanted to be a Rotary member. But I soon learned that the Rotary Club of Tampa was the object of a reverter clause for the daycare nursery site. And it was deeded, it was a property that was deeded in 1950. There was a restriction on the use, and I'll read here. It prohibited the property from being used for any purpose whatsoever than the care, training, or education of children of tender years. If the property were no longer used for that purpose, it would be transferred to our club. So after I picked myself up off the floor and I talked to club leadership and then the full club, we determined to work with the daycare, A Brighter Community. We recognize it as another long-term institution in Tampa. It felt good to our hearts as we met with them, and we were able to work out a long-term arrangement with them so that we can stay with fidelity to the thoughts and wishes of the original owners. And if this deal happens, we will be in it with them for the long haul. So we are pleased to be a small part of this project, this housing initiative in Tampa. And on a personal note, I am a pensioner now, but I used to be at the University of Tampa for many decades as an administrator, and I can attest that the need for affordable housing in Tampa is critical. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Does anybody else wish to speak? Thank you. We have one person registered, and that is Jean Strohmeyer for item number 12. Is she online?
She's no longer online.
Okay. Any questions or comments from council members before we go to rebuttal? I hear none. Mr. Hudson, go ahead.
Thanks, Council. If we're fortunate to have your approval, I would ask that we delay the second reading due to some vagaries of our contract closings to March 16th, 2023, if Council is willing to approve this. So it's March 16th, 2023.
Mr. Shelby, is that possible to do, to push it out that far?
It would be.
I should say, Ms. Doc and Kate, we've all talked. I think it's okay.
Okay. March 16th, 2023 would be the second reading. Should this get approved?
Should this get approved? Only then.
Can we take item, we've got a motion to close?
We're going to do item number 6 first.
Motion closed.
So we'll take a motion to close item 6.
And 12?
Motion to close both 6 and 12.
Motion from Councilmember Hurtak, second from Councilman Vieira. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Councilman Vieira, would you mind reading item number 6?
Yes, sir. I move an ordinance being presented for first reading consideration ordinance of the city of Tampa, Florida, vacating, closing, discontinuing, abandoning the alleyway located north of Estelle Street, south of Henderson Avenue, east of Marion Street, and west of Morgan Street within the plan of Mobley subdivision, the city of Tampa, Hillsborough County, Florida, is more particularly described in section 2 hereof, subject to certain covenants, conditions, and restrictions as more particularly set forth herein, providing for enforcement and penalties of violations, providing for definitions, interpretations, and repealing conflicts, providing for severability, providing an effective date.
We have a motion from Councilman Vieira.
Second.
Second from Councilmember Miranda. Roll call vote.
Vieira.
Yes.
Maniscalco.
Yes.
Hurtak.
Yes.
Carlson.
Yes.
Goods. Citro. Miranda.
Yes.
Motion carried unanimous with Goods, Citro being absent. Second reading and adoption will be held on March 16, 2023 at 9:30 a.m.
Great. Next, we have item number 12. Councilmember Miranda, would you mind reading item number 12?
And you have,
None.
I'm sorry, and you have associated revision sheets with those as well.
Yes, we do. We passed them out here. So. Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Item number 12, file number REZ 22-116. Ordinance being presented for first reading consideration. Ordinance rezoning property in general vicinity of 1503, 1505, North Florida Avenue, and 1601, 1604, 1605, 1607, 1613, and 1615 North Marion Street, 1002, 1604, 1606, 1608, North Morgan Street in the city of Tampa, Florida, more particularly described in section 1 from zoning district classification, CI commercial intensive, RM24 residential multifamily, and PD planned development, and PD planned development residential multifamily, and storefront residential commercial and office, providing an effective date. The applicant in this case has met all the goals and objectives required by law. Regarding the land zoning classification 27-163, the purpose development is shown on this site plan promotes and encourages development that is appropriate in location, character, and compatibility with the surrounding neighborhood. Proposed units promotes an effective substantial use of the land and infrastructure. And the regarding section 27-139, the design of proposed development is unique and therefore in need of waivers. The requested waivers would not substantially interfere or injure the rights of others in the property that would be affected by the waivers.
Motion from Councilmember Miranda with the second from Councilwoman Hurtak. Roll call vote.
Vieira.
Yes.
Maniscalco.
Yes.
Miranda.
Yes.
Hurtak.
Yes.
Carlson.
Yes.
Goods. Citro. Motion carried unanimous with Goods and Citro being absent. Second reading and adoption will be held on January 5th,
March 16th.
March 16, 2023 at 9:30 a.m.
Thank you very much. And on the addendum, I see there's a resolution for a bonus provision agreement. Do we need to move that?
That's a second reading.
That's a second reading? Okay, we'll hold that off until March 16th.
Do you want my mouse or anything? Yeah, yeah.
Say hi to Courtney for me.
See, your mouse isn't going up. Maybe it's the, no, your mouse isn't going up. Oh, wait, no, it's, your mirror. Oh, I don't know why, but it doesn't really matter. I mean, so LaShawn will do, dot cam, you just click, and then, okay. Yeah. Side or down. Okay, thank you so much. Yeah, of course.
Thank you so much, Council LaShawn, Dock Development Coordination. The next item is item number 13, and this is our last item for this evening. This is REZ 22-117. It's for the property located at 825 West Linebaugh Avenue and for folio 95031.0010. It's the property to the east of that. The applicant is represented by Truett Gardner, and the request is to rezone the property from PD Plan Development, which allows for residential multifamily and medical office, to PD for medical office and residential multifamily. And I will turn it over to Danny to give his presentation, and I'll come back and give my presentation. Thank you.
Very much. Any questions? No? Okay. If we could show the overhead. The overhead, please.
Is it shown?
Yeah, they can switch it over, yeah.
There we go. Good evening, Danny Collins again with your Planning Commission staff. Have been sworn in. Our last case is within the University Planning District, and more specifically, it's in the East Forest Hills neighborhood. The closest public recreation facility is Danny Del Rio Pool, which is located adjacent to the subject site, directly to the north. The closest transit stop is located adjacent to the site at the corner of North Boulevard and West Linebaugh Avenue. The subject site is within a level E evacuation zone. Here is an aerial map of the subject site and the surrounding properties. You'll see the subject site's at the northeast corner of West Linebaugh Avenue and North Boulevard. This is Daniel Del Rey Pool, directly to the north. There are some non-residential uses along this portion of the boulevard, as well as along Linebaugh Avenue. Here is the adopted future land use map. The subject site is currently recognized under the residential 20 future land use designation, which allows development up to 20 dwelling units per acre. Directly to the north of the site is land recognized under the recreation open space designation. And then also there is R10 to the northeast of the subject site. R20 is to the south, and also to the west along Linebaugh Avenue. This orange tannish color represents residential 10. The applicant proposes to rezone the eastern portion of approximately 2.09 acres of a 3.88 acre parcel to a planned development zoning district to allow the development of 57 multifamily residential units. The western portion, which was phase 1 of the site, was rezoned to PD through rezoning 2153 to allow for business medical office. The proposed multifamily use can be considered in the residential 20 future land use designation, and this would be phase 2 of the project. The PD orients the parking lot towards West Linebaugh Avenue with the multifamily building behind it. The comprehensive plan typically does not encourage this design, instead encourages buildings to be oriented towards the public rights-of-way. However, the subject site is currently vacant and heavily wooded. The proposed configuration allows the applicant to preserve several grand trees that are located on the site, which is encouraged by the comprehensive plan. The PD also provides a clearly delineated safe pedestrian connection from West Linebaugh Avenue to the front door of the proposed multifamily residential building, which is consistent with policies in the plan that seek to engage the public realm and provide safe pedestrian connections. Finally, the proposed configuration allows for a cross-access easement to the phase 1, which is to the west of the site, with a pedestrian connection to the western portion of the site. So there is some connectivity there. The orientation of the building to West Linebaugh Avenue would not be allowed. The orientation of the building to West Linebaugh Avenue would not have allowed the cross-access easement, so that's the reasoning for this configuration. The request supports many of the policies in the comprehensive plan as it relates to housing the city's population. The Tampa Comprehensive Plan encourages new housing on vacant and underutilized land to ensure an adequate supply of housing is available to meet the needs of Tampa's present and future population. The subject site is currently vacant and redevelopment will meet this policy direction. The request will provide additional housing choices in the East Forest Hills neighborhood. Overall, the proposed PD is comparable and compatible with the existing development pattern. Based on these considerations, the Planning Commission staff finds the request consistent with the goals, objectives, and policies of the Tampa Comprehensive Plan. That concludes my presentation. I'm available for any questions.
Any questions for the gentleman? Nope. Thank you very much. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you again, Council. LaShawn, Dock Development Coordination. And as Danny has described to you, this request for rezoning is a part of a phased development. So Phase 1 received the approval in 2021, with Phase 2 before you today with this PD. Phase 1 contains 77,972 square feet of land, and then Phase 2 contains 91,040 square feet. The proposal is to construct a 3-story residential multifamily structure on site. So this is the site plan as submitted. On the west boundary, or in the left of this picture, this is North Boulevard. And then this is Linebaugh Avenue that's located to the site. So this half is the Phase 1 development, and then this is Phase 2, which is before you today. For Phase 2, you can see the vehicular access proposed. This is the cross-access that Danny mentioned earlier. And this is the location of the structure on site as proposed, with the parking located in the front. Vehicular access also is proposed at this point on Linebaugh. And you can see the buffering that's provided surrounding the site itself, and the pedestrian sidewalk connections that are provided, as mentioned, to the sidewalk. And I have the zoning map for you. So this is the property that's identified in red on this map, which is located here. This is North Boulevard. This is Linebaugh Avenue. This is Phase 1 of the development, and this is Phase 2, which is before you today. You can see that heavy tree canopy there. That site is vacant. This site currently today is under construction, Phase 1. And I have a few pictures of the site to show. So this is Phase 1. You can see the construction that's looking towards the corner there. This is another view. This actually leads into the current site. That's the site itself. That's the east end of the site. These are all on Linebaugh. This is north of the site. This is south of the site, which is your residential multifamily. That's another view south of the site. And then this is also south of the site. And southwest of the site, you can see the commercial, which is located at the corner. The DRC staff reviewed the request, finds the request consistent. There are site plan modifications required to be made between first and second reading. I have a revised revision sheet I'm going to provide, and that should be included in the changes requested. The applicant has agreed to make the changes requested. There's a slight modification on the revision sheet, and that is due to the green space that is required to be provided. The applicant has agreed to provide the necessary green space for the site. It will require a reduction of the sidewalk, the pedestrian path, by reducing 2 feet. And I believe it's located within this area of the site, along that sidewalk, and that would give them the necessary green space required on the site. And then with that, those are all of the changes that are required. I'm available if you have any questions.
Do we have any questions?
Thank
Nope,
you.
Thank you. All right, Mr. Gardner.
Good evening. Trip Gardner, 400 North Ashley Drive.
You've dominated this agenda tonight.
Seriously, and we blew past your 7 o'clock goal, but we'll be as brief as we possibly can.
We appreciate it.
You got it. So with me tonight, Addie Clark and Ricky Pederica. Addie is going to address our small traffic parking waiver. She's a recovering traffic engineer who we brought over to handle entitlements. And then, as you can see from this slide here, just absolutely how heavily wooded this site is, especially on the eastern side. And so Ricky has been working close with Natural Resources, and we've got a very good plan there. Site totals 3.9 acres. As you can see here, it's split in two, with the western side being 1.79 acres, and then the eastern side 2.09 acres. We were actually, ironically, all the way back to 1998, this site was approved as a PD, with the western side being medical office and the eastern side being multifamily. In 2021, so a year ago, it's actually December of last year, we brought this in front of you. The developer was focused on the western side, the medical office side. That is 7,600 square feet. They're hoping to get their CO as early as next month or the month after. We kept the eastern side as a placeholder, knowing that we'd want to come back to you with the multifamily piece, so that's why we're here tonight. And the request is for 57 units on that eastern side, which is less than what the comp plan allows. And then all reviewing agencies have found us to be consistent. And with that, I'll turn it over to Addie, who's going to address parking, and then Ricky, who will cover our waivers on natural resources issues.
Thank you. Good evening. For the record, Addie Clark. My address is 400 North Ashley Drive, and a recovering traffic engineer, as Truett had mentioned. So, and as Truett mentioned, staff had found the project consistent with just a few modifications and 4 waivers today. The first waiver that I will talk about is regarding parking. So as you can see here, we're requesting a waiver for 8% of the required parking. And so given the project's location within the University Planning District and along a transit corridor, we feel that the slight reduction in required parking is completely justified. In addition, a Sheltered Heart transit stop is being placed just outside the project boundary. And you can see here, it's in the bottom right corner of the screen of the site. This Phase 2 multifamily portion of the project is providing 90 parking spaces, and compared to the industry standard parking demand data provided in the Institute of Transportation Engineers, ITE, parking generation manual, the project is actually parked at a higher rate than the average multifamily development. And so as mentioned in your staff report, this site has been strategically and intentionally designed so to have the least impact as possible to the natural areas that currently exist on the site. And so that is one of the reasons for this minor parking waiver request. And now I'll pass it on to Ricky, our arborist. Thank you.
Any questions? No. Thank you very much. Yes, sir.
Thank you, Addie. Thank you, Council. Ricky Pederica, 308 East 7th Avenue, Dark Moss. I've been sworn. The 2 natural resources waivers, as discussed, are for retention and green tree removal. A rare occurrence for this kind, for projects in general, I was asked after doing my inventory, I was asked by the developer to provide a site plan red line that was basically do a preliminary design to protect the best trees. And this is a function of that exercise. So while we are impacting many, given the condition of the forest and the types of trees that are there and the age and the species, we've preserved the best and are impacting the worst or oldest. So that's really the nature of both requests, that we have a large dense site that's just been overgrown. So there isn't a propensity of good or excellent trees on the site, but that's what the code uses to recognize, including fair. So we provided some alternative site plans, 2 shown here. 1 splits the building up, and we get a parking reduction that triggers a variance, and that created an issue with reasonable reconfiguration. The other, the alternative 2, we lose units. We're accommodating relatively old laurel oak that would get damaged in construction. And then we impact some of the better trees that we were trying to preserve. Second waiver, buffering. It's not really any much more than a reduction and a customization. So we're buffering ourselves. The buffer we're requesting is from the phase 1 to the west, and which has a buffer already provided, envisioning this multifamily. So we're providing a more customized buffer. Instead of a hedge, we're providing a fence, and instead of kind of a poorly defined tree type, we're saying evergreen type 2 and 3, which I coordinated with Natural Resources to get her, she agreed that that's a better planting scheme than just following the code as is. But other than the reduction in width, it's the same vegetated buffer that would have been provided. And then there's also some customization to the north, but no change in the width. And so I appreciate your consideration of these balanced issues.
Any questions for the gentleman? Nope.
For the applicant, and then whenever they're finished, is this a good time?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, just really quick, if I may, Mr. Gardner, good to see you, sir, as always. I just want to confirm, so we have a clean staff report, no objections from city staff, et cetera?
Correct.
Okay, that's what I thought. I see a letter here from a Diana Limber-Rakis over on 101st Street. She had expressed some concerns about stormwater and flooding. Legitimate on your end? I know we have no objections, obviously, from stormwater, but we wanted to address that.
We worked with them and have satisfied their conditions. I believe it's stated on the site plans that will be compliant with code. I did have one update that I just told LaShawn about. In the spirit of the holidays, my client is JB Realty out of Lakeland. They were listening to the hearing before. We are not asking for any bonus density at all, but they would also like to commit to 5% affordable. And so wanted to state that for the record. And LaShawn said it would be okay to make that change between first and second reading, but I wanted to go ahead and state that.
Great. And thank you for that, sir. And last question, this letter, it indicated something about the privacy of neighbors, if you wanted to address that, their concerns.
So would be handled best through buffering, and I'm not sure where this neighbor exactly is, but we do have a unique aspect to the site in that the eastern side of it is actually, it's kind of an interesting legal situation. It's a wide swath that is actually, if you look at the deed, is owned by our client, but the way that the legal is stated, it doesn't include it in the deed. And so basically it's going to be set aside as additional buffer. So not sure whether this person's on the east, but they will have a massive buffer on the east side because of this anomaly on the deed.
Great, good. Okay, thank you very much, sir. Thank you.
Any other questions? Do we have anybody in the public that wishes to speak on this item? Yes, sir? Nobody here? There was nobody registered. There was a registered speaker, but she's not logged in, correct? All right, do you have any rebuttal or any other final comments? No, may I have a motion to close? Motion closed from Councilman Miranda. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second from Councilwoman Hurtak. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, Councilman Carlson, can you read item number 13?
Yes, sir. Hang on a second.
And also remember to include the revision sheet between first and second reading and the addition of the 5% affordable units that was just brought up. Voluntarily, yes, sir.
Okay. I'd like to move item number 13, file number REZ 22117, ordinance being presented for first reading consideration, ordinance rezoning property in general vicinity of 835 West Limeball Avenue, and folio number 95031.0010 in the city of Tampa, Florida, more particularly described in section 1 from zoning district classification plan development, medical office, residential multifamily, providing effective date, including the revision sheet between first and second reading and the voluntary 5% affordable housing.
Second. Councilman Miranda, roll call vote.
Miranda,
Yes.
Hurtak,
Yes.
Carlson,
Yes.
Goulds, Vieira,
Yes.
Citro. Motion carried with, Maniscalco.
Yes.
Motion carried unanimous with Goobs and Citro being absent. Second reading and adoption will be held on January 5th, 2023 at 9:30 a.m.
Thank you very much. That concludes the agenda. So we'll go on to new business. Councilmember Carlson, do you have any new business this evening, sir?
Yeah, sorry, I have a couple if you guys can, just bear with me a second. Just following up on today, I would like to ask staff to come back in January and talk to us about the resources we can use in the city to change SB 64. So I'd like to make a motion to ask staff to report back on January 19th during staff reports as to the legal and lobbying resources of the city that can be used to support a change in SB 64 and/or to enable the city to get an exception from FDEP for the beneficial discharge of water into the bay.
All right, we have a motion from Councilmember Carlson. Second from Councilwoman Hurtak. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Thank you, sir. Anything else?
Yes, second related, we were talking about the name this morning instead of Pure. So here's what I came up with, which I think is pretty neutral. Motion to ask staff to begin using the term, quote, wastewater reuse in all caps to replace Pure in all caps in the summary of any agenda item that is in any way related to reusing the 50 MGD wastewater discharge and/or elements of the projects formerly known as Pure and TAP.
We have a motion from Councilmember Carlson with a second from Councilwoman Hurtak.
Can you
And
just repeat that one more time?
wastewater reuse
Wastewater reuse. Okay, thank you.
in all capital letters.
In all capitals. I know, I just have to write it down.
Pure was in all capitals, so I just made it in all caps so people could see.
Yeah.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right. Anything else, sir?
Yeah, quickly. Motion to ask staff to report back. I don't know if you all saw, there was an incident in South Tampa. I won't describe the details of it, but you all may know. So I'd like to make a motion to ask staff to report back on January 19th during staff reports as to any needed changes to provide better fire rescue coverage in South Tampa and in particular the area south of Gandy.
We have a motion from Councilman Carlson, second from Councilman Miranda, correct?
Yes.
All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Anything else, sir?
One last thing that's come up today. There are a lot of allegations flying about the status of compliance with the residency requirement of senior staff, and whether you agree with it or not, I don't know how I would feel on it. But there's a lot of questions from the community about making sure that if we have a rule that we're complying with it, or if we're not going to comply, that we come up with exceptions. So I would make a motion to ask staff to report back on February 16th during staff reports as to the current status of city department heads' compliance with the charter defined residency requirement and what to do if any have exceeded the time limit and do not comply.
Second.
We have a second from Councilwoman Hurtak. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Anything else,
Thank
sir?
you all.
That's it?
That's it. Thank you.
Councilman Vieira?
Yes, sir. A couple quick, if I may. A couple of weeks ago, Chief Barbara Tripp with Tampa Fire Rescue requested more time for an update on some fire issues that I'd inquired with her on. She sent a memo, and I want to reset that for the first week in January of 2023. Is that now, Councilwoman Hurtak, what was the date you wanted no more staff reports on? Was that the 5th?
No, I believe that was the 19th.
Okay, just as a courtesy, making sure.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
Oh, yeah, no worries. So I actually want to, if I may, have Tampa Fire Rescue report on not only the improvements that I've requested in District 7, but as well as compliance with the Public Safety Master Plan. It's been about 2 years since that was forwarded, and I just want to see where we're at. And also want to invite, I had spoken to Tampa firefighters, Local 754, and also coming to discuss that issue as well.
Motion from Councilmember Vieira with the second from Councilman Miranda. All in favor? Aye. Aye. Any opposed?
And if TFR needs more time on that, obviously glad to do it. I motion for a commendation for the Winn-Dixie on County Line Road for all of their work for our first responders.
We have a motion from Councilman Vieira, second by Councilman Miranda. All in favor?
Yeah, offside.
Which
Yeah.
aisle? Second from Councilman Miranda. All in favor?
Aye.
And then lastly, y'all may have read in the paper things on the late Salvador Martinez Ybor, who was the grandson of the late Vicente Martinez Ybor. I'd written a guest column on him in the Tampa Bay Times a few months ago for Memorial Day. He was a gentleman who was raised in Tampa, would go on to move to Cuba, and then when Pearl Harbor happened, he would come back here to Tampa to volunteer for the United States to fight in World War II. And the grandson of Vicente Martinez Ybor would give his life in World War II. Not enough people know about that. It just astounds me. On December 7th, we're going to have at 1 p.m., and I'll send an invite out to City Council, an event at the Ybor City the History Museum, where the Purple Heart of the late Salvador Martinez Ybor will be presented to the museum. I actually drove to Miami to visit Ignacio Martinez Ybor, his nephew, who had the Purple Heart, who was so kind to donate it. I want to request for city staff to look at an honorary street renaming in Ybor City after Salvador Martinez Ybor, and come back to us in first week of April, March, whatever. I guess you can't say whatever. Let's say the first week in March. That's, you know what? The second week in March after elections. There you go.
We have a motion from Councilman Vieira, second from?
Second.
Second from Councilmember Hurtak. All in favor?
Aye.
And you know what? And I will say this. Some news came out today. I'm getting a lot of emails on issues involving the chief and certain issues, et cetera. You know, I'm getting a lot of emails, inquiries from constituents, et cetera, on it. I just want to say that for my opinion, because I think it's important for us to speak out on these issues for transparency, for accountability, et cetera, that when you're a civil servant or an official, things like that are wrong. And I think it's important for the administration to put forth a plan on the level of accountability that's going to happen, et cetera. I just feel compelled to say that. I think that's something that's very important. And I know that a statement has been made, and I hope to see follow-up on this, because I think it's something that's very important to all constituents in the city of Tampa. Thank you very much.
And thank you for bringing that up, because we're all going to get, or we're getting emails and calls, and I'm glad you said something. I appreciate that. And I'm also very appreciative that you brought up Pearl Harbor, because I post every year about Pearl Harbor Day, and so many people go, thank you for remembering it, because, you know, it's been so long since, and we can't forget that. So, and I appreciate, you know, in regards to the Ybor family. So, thank you, sir. Councilmember Hurtak, do you have any?
Yes, I do. I would like to make a motion to request the Housing and Community Development Manager, Kayon Henderson, to provide a brief report on the Affordable Housing Advisory Committee Local Housing Incentive Strategies Recommendation Report prior to its transmittal to the state at the December 15th, 2022 City Council meeting.
Motion from Councilmember Hurtak, second from Councilmember Miranda. All in favor?
Aye.
Yes, ma'am?
I would like to make a motion asking staff for a brief presentation on the city's plans for upgrading or replacing Sire, preferably on January 5th. I'm going to go a little bit of background on this. I don't know if anybody else had problems like getting into Sire documents this week. Really struggled. They looked at my computer. It wasn't my computer. It was Sire. So I've been told that they're replacing it in the next couple of months, but I would like them to come and give us a little brief rundown on that.
Yeah.
Awesome, but even with the resolution, I would still like a little, maybe with their resolution, maybe if they have enough time by December 15th to add something to their resolution, explaining it to council, we would really appreciate it.
If I can make a suggestion, maybe you should have that resolution ask that it be placed under staff reports. So there will be a presentation.
Oh, okay, then I would, let's do that. Let's place the resolution under staff reports.
We have a motion from Councilmember Hurtak. Do we have a second? Second from Councilmember Miranda with the second. All in favor? Aye.
And then I have one more. I would like to make a motion for legal to bring back an amended form of the Notice of Tenants' Rights for approval by council, which would add the contact information for the tenant services team.
Second. We have a motion from Councilmember Hurtak, second from Councilmember Vieira. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Anything else?
I made a motion earlier, never mind, it was earlier.
Yes, sir, Councilman Goode.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. You know, I'm a strong believer that I don't kick anybody when it's down. When they're down, I'm not quick to rush judgments. I'm not quick to make statements to the public or to the press when incidents happen, because you don't know all the facts until all the facts are in. I've received numerous calls from the media asking for interviews and statements, and you know, I've told my office that we're not going to entertain any of those type of situations, because you never know what all the facts are. You never make statements that you don't know about, and sometimes those things can come back to bite you sometimes. And I learned that through my history at the police department. You wait till it's all done and over with, and then you can make your statements once the facts are all in. So with that being said, there's no need for them to call me in reference to it. But I would like to make a couple of motions tonight. I hope it won't be as long as Mr. Vieira, but I do have a few tonight. As you know, Mr. Johnson was over our finance committee, budget finance committee, and Ms. Lockett was due to get a combination. I did not see them on the January 10th, but I know we asked for that to be rescheduled because we postponed them because it was election day. So I'd like to go ahead and put them on the calendar for January 10th, and I believe we've asked for Pastor Mason to be the invocation that day. So we get a motion on that.
Motion from Councilmember Goode with the second from Councilmember
I've got
Miranda.
paperwork there for the ladies there.
Any opposed? Yes, sir.
Thirdly, I received several phone calls in my office from several parents and folks in the community in reference to the Spring Hill baseball complex and recreation facility, in reference to the facility there with some type of grant with the Cal Ripken Foundation. So I wrote up a little something here that the administration, Parks and Recreation Department provide information on the Cal Ripken grant regarding the badges and to baseball program, how the funds are utilized, what partners are they utilized for, who's responsible for the Spring Hill Park maintenance, and bring back the staff reports on December 15th. I also have the forms here for the file from parents and so forth. I've already kind of pre-talked to Ms. Hills about it, so she's ready. She's kind of already ready to be able to come forward to give information about it.
Just to remind, I'm not keeping track, but December 15th, I don't know what the night meeting looks like, but we also have a night meeting.
That shouldn't be long because I've already
On
called her.
December 15th?
15th, we have a night meeting. Oh.
Yeah, every week.
Every Thursday this month.
I have that on my calendar.
I'm sorry.
It's a busy day.
No, we don't. That's what I want to make sure that, I don't want them to.
Yeah.
Right. So,
So as of right now, staff reports, we had 10 previously scheduled and probably about 4 for this morning. And
She's already talked.
2 more this tonight, so you're looking at 13 so far.
We end the year with a bang, you know?
that should be pretty quick. I mean, if I got to push it back another day, but that should be pretty quick. I've already kind of talked to her, and she's already kind of given the information, but I want her to publicly tell the public because they need to know what I was told, basically.
And just to follow up, forgive me, but is she's aware of the date of the 15th? Because
No, she's not aware of the 15th, but we've already talked, so it'll be a quick, be able to wrap it up what needs to be
So there may
discussed.
not be a written report because my understanding is the SIRE deadline for the 15th is tomorrow. So there may not be enough time for them to put together anything to be able to get it through the channels. It was actually today.
Give me the next date then.
January 5th.
Just do it to the 5th, we'll get
We
enough
have a
time.
motion from Councilmember
That's
Goode.
fine.
We have a second from Councilmember Miranda. All in favor?
Yes, fine.
Aye. Any opposed? Anything else, sir?
Yes, sir, 2 more. I know we've got accommodations on January 10th on Tuesday, but I want to try to get these other 2 in before the holidays over, but we're not. So I'd like to attempt to calculate accommodation to Ms. Denise Matema James, because you know she's the one who's always kind of done our CRA East Tampa Christmas event and tree lighting until now. We have a bigger event now that we do, but I want to give her accommodation for the 14 years of service of trying to get that moving and going for the community.
Motion from Councilman Goode, second from Councilwoman Hurtak. All in favor?
January 10th.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Yes, sir.
All right, and the last one would be for Serenity Outreach, for the advocacy and outreach for workforce development, skills and training, specialized in advocacy, for underserved and underprivileged communities.
We have a motion from Councilmember Goode, second from? Second from Councilmember Miranda. All in favor? Aye. That's it, sir?
That's it,
Councilmember Miranda?
Sorry, gentlemen.
Wait, yes, sir.
As you know, The East Tampa big tree lighting is on Friday.
You better believe I'll be there.
So they're lighting it up a little bit better now, and they're gonna light up the other tree at 34, but we alternate this year. We'll be at the one on ML King and 17th, and also they're gonna have a little special thing for Sulphur Springs the week after, because I've been so neglected, and I must do something to give a bang to them as well, so.
I'll be there
again,
tomorrow.
Friday.
Excuse me, Councilman, that's a different location than last year.
Yes, sir.
And again, that location and date and time?
That location, I wanna say is 1805 East,
1705.
maybe 1705 East,
Right off
you know,
of Nebraska and
across from Young Middle School.
on the left-hand
Yeah,
side. One
It's
block.
a big park with a giant, with a big.
And what time is that on Friday?
That should be about 6:30, we'll light it up about 6:30, my
Thank you,
understanding.
sir.
You don't want to miss it. You don't want to miss it. All
The
right,
Jazzy Seniors will be there this year.
I'll be there.
That's what I hear.
Councilman Miranda, do you have
That's
any?
what I hear.
None, so I'm gonna treat you nice.
Thank you. Wait, I have a couple of items. I'm going to hand the gavel to Councilman Vieira. First, I'd like to make a motion to give Kim Puleo a commendation on December 14th at the Franklin Street, this is off-site, at the Franklin Street Christmas lighting ceremony for all her hard work in putting the event together every year and giving back to the community. If you go up North Franklin Street, you'll see it gets all lit up, which is really nice for the area. So.
Thank you very much. We have a motion by Councilman Maniscalco, seconded by Councilman Miranda. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Thank you very much. And my last one, this is on behalf of Chairman Citro, that City Council invites the CEO of the Tampa Bay EDC, Craig Richards, to make a presentation at the December 15th, 2022 City Council meeting on the Tampa Bay EDC's annual report for fiscal year 2022 as required by their biannual contract with the city, to be placed on the agenda during ceremonial activities.
We have a motion by Councilman Maniscalco, a second by Councilman Miranda. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion to receive and file.
We have a motion to receive and file from Councilman Vieira, second from Councilman Miranda. All in favor? We are adjourned. Good night.
you.